Tapping in.
Are we live?
This week is more relevant than ever to shine the work of the ladies at blackwomenforblacklives.org. These are the same ladies that are putting together the funding that's going to help you black students in Ukraine who aren't able to get out. And if just to be able to shout out their names properly, we are talking about Tokuno. You see now these names,
Nah, you stepped on that ledge and you're the guy. You got
definitely. Obviously, Miss Jallo, Miss Corrine Sky, Patricia Daly, Tokunobu Koyek. So these ladies are doing some pretty incredible work because we've been seeing what's been happening with the immigrant students, not immigrant students, the black students and people of color trying to leave Ukraine at the moment.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on, and we'll get to that a bit later in the show. But when you brought this story in, man, shout out to you for having your finger on the pulse. I just thought this was an incredible I don't know, triangulation, right, of it being Women's Month. Shout out to Women's Month. And so stories of black women, something that this show tries to emphasize and lift up. But also, yeah, some of the same folks that are experiencing some of the craziest conditions, some of the most uphill battles toward their dreams, goals, aspirations, and even safety are doing some amazing things. So thank you for bringing this story and these queens to the forefront.
And the cool thing about what these ladies are doing is the fact that they really just heard about the story. Two of the ladies were good friends staying in London and were just like, yo, let's get together. We're seeing what's happening to our Nigerian brothers and sisters on the ground. We're seeing that they're struggling. There's racism clearly happening at the border. Let's band together, start this GoFundMe and do it. Had a target of £10,000, and within a bit of time, they were able to raise 75,000 the last time that I checked. And that's something that we preach all the time, which is that if you really see something that you want to make a difference in, be the person that does that difference. Take that initiative, even if it's you and two friends that want to start something, do it. And that's how you cultivate impact. From what I've been seeing, a lot of them have been quite vocal in terms of their active support. I know specifically Tokunobu has done some work in her community from what I've been able to read. So definitely wanted to salute them for seeing their brothers and sisters going through something difficult and being the example that people can follow instead of waiting for people to be that example.
Yes, bro. Like, I think we all got to take on the mindset of if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Right. So it's amazing that people step up to that plate. As somebody who aspires to organize, aspires to bring people together for causes like this and to connect people to resources that they need, especially in times of crisis. It's always just reinvigorating to see other people doing this work and doing it in creative ways that we can build off of. So, man, shout out to their contributions to movements worldwide that can learn from this.
And if we're in the topic of celebrating Black women who are leading movements, it's hard not to realize the jarring fact that all great Black movements are kept together, the organization of it, and put together, ran by, and kept moving forward by Black women, off the backs of Black women. This is from Black Lives Matter to go as far back as you want to even your Winnie Mandelas in South Africa.
Big facts. And so the serious conversation to be had there is Black women are often the first and at the forefront of supporting struggles for humanity in general, right? Fighting for their own rights, fighting for their own safety, lifting up their own voices, but also fighting for other groups of people, right? And enabling movements that have broader repercussions than just for themselves, right? And so often those movements get co-opted, right? So there's a real need to re-examine how we prioritize women and how we prioritize specifically Black women in movements and in specifically policy going forward, right? How do we make policy changes that reflect what these women have been saying for generations now?
As someone that's on the ground and working closely with the people that are making those types of policies, what would you say policies that you could put into place that can, bring on some of this change that you're speaking of?
I mean, and again, we find ourselves in this place where I really wish we had a female guest to take it away right here and go crazy. So, um, but I would say that, yeah, I think that there are things that we can address as far as pay gap between men and women, and a lot of that stems from the way that we look at men as earners and women as caregivers. So we have to change those dynamics, right? We have to change the way that we place pressure on women, not in only in the ways to look beautiful, but also like, fam, we gotta like we're in the 21st century now. We know that Instagram affects young girls a certain way, and like we have the science behind it. So how can we put in policies in place to force uh these companies to protect, right, like young people and young women in these spaces where we know society already puts so much pressure on them. And then there's like, yeah, man, there's just there's so much, bro. And again, I'm not the one that should be speaking to it, but again, lift up the voices of the females in your life. Matter of fact, I'll make a commitment right now to say the All the Way Live podcast shall not nab one more guest without having a woman of color on this John, man. So
I think that's a great ambition to have. Specifically in South Africa, Women's Month to me means that we have to keep looking further into the gender-based violence that's happening to women in South Africa. They're being raped and murdered in rates that are higher than usual, that are higher than average. If you look at the statistics around the world, our rape rates are particularly high, only next to those of places like Libya, not Libya, sorry, Liberia, South Sudan, places where it's war torn in a lot of instances. So South Africa has super high numbers like that, and it's quite disheartening because you see these women living a life where they're just like in fear all the time because of the violence that lurks. So policy, all my South African activists, females, let's keep pushing that one. Like I was saying anything new.
yo, but yeah, for real. I mean, where do you want to go with it? Gender-based violence, structural violence, right? We know that Black women, even here in the United States, face opposition when talking to their doctors and physicians. They're not treated the same. They're thought to still have a higher pain tolerance, right? And they are treated as such, right? Like this is a thing that happens and that women have been saying. So how can we put policies in place to make women feel heard, protected, seen, and safe? Even in like a place like a space with a doctor, a physician, somebody who's supposed to be a professional. Like we are so behind on these issues, bro.
Yeah. And to look at my wall of inspiration in the books and to quote Laura Bates again, the experience of a woman going to a hospital is very far from the experience of a man going to a hospital for some of the reasons, like you said, where pain and pain communication and how they treat the seriousness of how women communicate pain is very low, especially that for Black women. Black women are dying in hospitals at rates that are also above average. And throughout this Women's Month, man, we're gonna do our best to stay informed. Definitely have a woman of color, like my brother Miles has said, onto the show, and continue to highlight in best ways that we can the work that we're doing to help the women in our communities. Last week, having given out a laptop, we're doing the work.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out the Mandula Foundation. Shout out CEO Mo. Shout out P. Like again, like everywhere you look, literally, right? At the front row and on the flow, man. Like it's women. Women are there doing the work. So humbly, happy Women's Month.